And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Brook City from the Sadler Brothers. This is it's a cooperative game of blockbuster cop action. Now, there's a couple things here that got me excited. The Sadler Brothers, of course, one of the main forces behind the second edition, which I really liked, and they made a lot of cool games. I like that excites me, that I know this is going to be a thematic involved cooperative game. And secondly, this whole police officers going around and dealing with different crimes and things. I like that concept, and there's so few games based on that. So let me give you some overviews of what's in this game, and then I'll tell you what I think. So this is a map of the city. It has a grid here. S8 is this spot here. So there's various different places around the map. So you can see here, for example, we got the Vasel Pharmaceuticals headquarters and Capitol Hotel. And this is the city that these different crimes will be taking place in. Now, I'm not going to go over every aspect of this game. There's a lot going on. I just want to give you some basic concepts. You're going to be picking a case. So like Jewel of the City or Slain Diplomat or Shadow Theories or whatever it might be, and it will tell you how the setup for that is, and then each of these cases will come with a different deck that will cause events that will happen over the course of the game. You're also going to be picking some bad guys. So maybe you're playing against Gus Ferguson or against Slade Harper or Mickey Scott, and then each of these is going to have a specific setup over the course of the game, and tells you different things that will happen because of that player. There's also a character for them, so Mickey Scott here, the rival, and just various things that are going to happen. Then players are going to pick their cop that they're going to be. You can see here that I already have several of them here in the station. Each one's going to pick your own cruiser that you're going to be driving around the city with. You're going to pick from several different characters that are here. Characters are going to have special abilities that you'll be able to use over the course of the game, and they come with their own deck here. So this is a deck of cards that you'll have that's going to give you tactics and encounters and things that you'll be able to use over the course of the game. Each round, the different cops are going to take their turns in any order. But when the first thing a player will do on their turn is they're going to draw a card from the criminal deck. Some of these will be events, like here each cop must place an influence on a riot card or suffer stress, etc. Or they might show something that will show up. So this person here shows up at Pop's Pastries, which is J7. So J7's right here. You'll be putting tokens and or figures out on the board, and then you're going to have to deal with this. And so there are 3 ways to deal with the different actions, and then there's a target number that you're trying to get, and other things that will happen when this one activates and or it busts when you bust this thing. So you're going to be dealing with these. There's so many different ways that things will work and deal with on the board, but they're basically, think of them as little fires that will be popping up and different things that will be showing up in different locations that you're going to be having to deal with. On a player's turn, the first thing that they can do on their turn, or you actually can do them in any order, but one of the things you do in your turn is move. You normally can move 3 spaces. You can jump in your car, and of course your car can move after you've jumped into it and move around the board, and then you can jump out of a car and go to different spots. You're going to be running around the board using your police car to do things, although as the game goes by you have a chance to get other vehicles. If you're out in the streets, instead of using your cruiser, you can commandeer a vehicle, and you'll turn over the top card of this deck here, and it will show you what kind of vehicle that you'll get. There's actually, figures for all of them. So, this thing is pretty nice. When you drive this vehicle, you move 2. You can exhaust this to move an extra 2 space when driving it. And this one here, you can ditch it. There's even, why would I ever want the moped? Well, this one uses space to move instead of street, so you can go through locations. It's not as fast as the rest of them. And there's the good old station wagon here. So there's various vehicles you can grab, and it's more of an entertaining thing to do than anything else, but you'll never be without a vehicle because you can always take one. Each player will have a certain number of stress that they can handle before they get too stressed out, and they have special ability on them. And then they have a deck of cards, and one of the things you can do in your turn is also play a card. So there are tactic cards. You play these in front of you, and it kind of gives you a special ability if you already have that tactic card in front of you. So if she already has determination, another one's played, it's called prepared, and then you do whatever it says here. In this case, discard a stress. There are encounters also you can go through. There are abilities that you can move 5. And if you're in a location, you may place a progress on a target that's not in the same location. So each player's deck is very different than everyone else's, and as is their special abilities. Now players can also on their turn, they're going to run into encounters, or they can, if there's a card on the board, they can do actions. But encounters, you're often going to deal with these, and there's 3 ways to deal with encounter: reckless, normal, or cautious. And if there are numbers on these, it's harder, like this person's harder to deal with. When they're cautious, they're going to subtract 2. This person, reckless, is better to deal with them. And you'll need a certain number of successes to deal with these, and you'll be rolling dice, and the different characters have dice that they're going to be, different characters will be better at something. Some cops are better at being reckless, some are better at being cautious. You'll roll these, some will give you hunch tokens, they don't help in that encounter itself. Then there's also successes, and then there's these critical hits, which when you roll them, you get to roll another die or re-roll this die again. And then sometimes there's one of each. So that's what you're trying to do to accomplish your goals, and you're going to be making tons of these tests and encounters throughout the game. Not only are you going to be going around and dealing with encounters, but there's also going to be leads. There's a big deck of leads. This deck is pretty much the same for every game, but different things will happen out here. And once you get these cards, if you go over there and deal with these leads, there's going to be tokens that are showing up. Then you get these cards where you'll be able to do things. Discard this for 2 stress, or put a progress on a suspect. So this is like extra stuff. You can kind of ignore these if you want to, but at the same time they're pretty handy, and they'll be on the board and you can go deal with a lead instead of the actual crime itself. So that's some basics of how the game plays. When we look at how you win or lose, so for example, if this card ever has 4 influence on it, the cops lose. So Mickey Scott there. While here we have Mina, the jewel of the city, and blah, blah, blah. If the cops control Mina, then they win. And so the thing is, and this is one of the things about this game, is that every one of these is going to be a little bit different, and how influence gets placed on this. Sometimes the smaller guys will cause influence to be placed on the big boss, which gets moved over here. There's just all different things, but you're just going to, the rules are pretty much simple, and you just need to go through these and read this here. So, you're going to put Mickey in a random location and put a tape in a random location unless the cops discard a lead. A crime is considered trendy when it has a number of influence tokens on it equal to its trend value. Trendy crime cards cannot have influence placed on them. And that's what Mickey does. And then the jewel of the city here, you're trying to find Mina. And so there's various things that are going to happen based on the case that you're playing, and the city, and the different, the leads that are going to show up. Everything's going to be different. The way that the cops are going to play with their different decks is going to be different. Every game of this is going to be different based on the different kinds of combinations that will be in play. There's a lot of components in this game for sure. I mean, look at all these piles of tokens, and there's a lot of plastic in the game. I really like all the different cars that you can have, and then all the different players. And the miniatures aren't like amazing, but they're fine. You can see the different characters here that will show up over the course of the game. The dice are extremely good quality. And then there's all the artwork on the different cards. Now, I will say, for myself, when I'm looking at all the art in these are obviously based on different characters from movies and TV shows and stuff. It's really clear on that. And I don't mind that per se, but sometimes it takes me out of the game. It takes me out on how it looks. Like this person here looks tremendously like George Clooney, right? And the art's fine. I just almost wish that these characters were their own characters. Instead, you're constantly thinking about the character in the movie or TV show that they are instead. You think of that character, and I can get into that, right? I can make the TV quotes and stuff from those characters, but I almost wish that these became their own characters. And sometimes it's like a parody, but not funny, of the characters. I mean, sure, I don't mind taking this guy down as a heavy criminal, but it's really hard not to think of him as the actual character, the real life person that he's based on. That being said, there's the negative thing about all the different stuff that's here is that there's just so much information in this game that it can be overwhelming. some of the problems with this game are it is an overwhelming info dump at the beginning. The game itself is fairly simple. I mean, you're going to move, you draw a bad card, deal with that, then you move, play a card, and or interact with something on the board. Fine, it's pretty simple, honestly. The fact you can do it in any order, and that. What complicates the game is knowing what you can do / what you should do seems immense at the beginning. And yes, there's the cooperative nature of the game and people are helping each other, so that's really useful in and of itself. But that whole, and then the fact that every bad guy and every case is going to have different rules and things are going to act slightly differently. And it's really easy to miss a lot of small things. Oh, that's right, we were supposed to put an influence here, we were supposed to do this, oh, you didn't take a stress here. And so, that once you get through that, it's kind of like get through that mesh, that original thing. The game's simple. It flows really smoothly. But I have to be honest, if you said to me, hey, can you teach me this game? I'd be like, okay, I can, but all right, I'm going to pick the same case and the same bad guy that I played last time just because those I know better than anyone else. And so every time you switch, which by the way is fine because there's lots of variety, and I know there's expansions for this and other stuff, but I feel like there's enough variety in the base set. Whew, that's a lot. My second negative about the game is I felt like a lot of the bad guys who showed up around the city were static problems to deal with, but I never really felt too much like I was stopping criminals from, say, robbing a bank or holding someone up. It was more like you went and did a shakedown of them, which is not a big deal, but they never felt super threatening. I mean, the main bad guy is threatening. He's like in the background. Actually, he shows up sometimes, and there's that threat dealing there, but there's not like a kidnapped person in a car and we're chasing them down the streets. I miss a little bit of that. And the game is more gamey cooperatively. It's like there's little fires that pop up everywhere, and you can keep putting those fires out, or you can accomplish the mission. And so, again, this may not have come really clearly through the overview because this is a kind of a dense game to initially show, but as you have these things that a case you're trying to solve, and there's going to be cards on the table that you need to solve in some sort of order, or maybe in any order you want. There can be different spots in the map that you need to go to solve this, and so you need to deal with that to win. But the bad guy's also popping up all over the board. You need to deal with him to lose. This is the classic cooperative thing. Bad stuff, stop it. Good stuff, do it. And in this game, you've got to find that balance because you could focus on the good stuff, then the bad stuff will overwhelm you. You can keep stopping the bad stuff and then never solve the good thing and not win that way. And so this game does a pretty good balance. I don't think the game is overwhelmingly hard. I think it's beatable, although, again, you can mix and match the stuff to make it more difficult. Some of the bad guys are harder than others. This is not a game for everyone. I enjoyed it. I'm predisposed to liking it because I like the theme. And I like when the theme comes through in this game. I like the commandeering a car and chasing down, or using one of the boats on the board to go down the river, or running to get a clue, or you're ever somewhere like, I'm going to recklessly deal with this. There's a computer hacker who can do things from remote, and using your special thing, and then you do make the movie and TV quotes as you go through. So I think it all comes together in a good game package. I think you're going to, the negatives, like I said, getting over that initial rules hump, a lot of things to check. Sometimes it's easy to miss something that goes on. But if you get through all that, you'll find in here a fun cooperative game that takes a theme that's not often dealt with and does so in an interesting way. It's like every 90s cop movie thrown into one box. And honestly, I think a lot of people who are coming to watch this review have already determined whether they're going to play the game or not based on whether you want that or not. Do you want that stuff in a box? This does it. But if you're looking for a more smooth cooperative game, there's probably ones out there to get. This one, the theme is what trumps it for me and makes me like it. Dice Tower Judgment, approved!
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.